Before the legislative session got underway, the Texas Politics Project at UT Austin asked voters what they think should be top priority for lawmakers this go-around. The answers could influence the course of the session. Joining us for insight is James Henson, the executive director of the Texas Politics Project. And what do you think that Texans think should be those top priorities?
Well, in an open-ended question where we asked people to just tell us what they thought should be the most important priority in the session, the top two responses, very familiar. Immigration and border security, a little more than a fifth. A little less than that, the economy and prices. And I think the thing to really notice about that is how much continuity there is between what we saw in the election in November and what we're seeing going into the session.
You know, we heard the governor call on senators to push bail reform. That's part of a larger public safety issue, we know. Where does that fall on the scale of importance?
Well, on one hand, nobody off the top of their head said bail reform, or, there wasn't really even much in that response about criminal justice issues writ large. That said, in an institutional battery where we asked people to rate what they thought of various political institutions, the reviews of the criminal justice system, which was included in that battery, were pretty negative, and actually more people had unfavorable views of the criminal justice system than favorable views. So there may be an appetite for some kind of reforms in that area out there, but politicians will have to lead on that.
Well, I do want to rewind just a little bit. Tell us a bit about the methodology. Who do you talk to for this poll and when?
So we talked to 1,200 registered voters. This poll is in the field between, I think, December 9th through about the 18th or 19th, actually 9th through the 17th. That didn't leave us really much time to release the results during the holiday, but the idea here was to check in with voters at a little distance after the election, but before the coverage of the session really kicked in.
You know, a big part of the session will be devoted to the budget. That's the only thing that lawmakers really have to pass by law. Your poll asked where Texans want to see more or less spending, and you found a divide, of course, along party lines, right?
Yeah, not a shocking result. Republicans and Democrats look very different on this, but in very familiar ways. So the top spending priorities for Republicans, one item led, I won't make you guess, 63%, the only majority among Republicans wanted more spending. So the state was spending too little on border security, which is interesting given how much we've spent. Followed at some distance by mental health services and the electric infrastructure. Those were in the 40s among Republicans. Among Democrats, again, not surprisingly, generally more willing to use state spending. Their scores were generally higher, the shares supporting more spending. Top three responses among Democrats, also familiar: healthcare, mental health services, and K through 12 and environmental spending were tied.
So I know a lot of people are looking at your poll. A lot of those people are under the dome, the lawmakers. How do you think what you found in the poll could affect what they do this session?
Well, look, I think on one hand, we know that elected officials look at polling a lot. They commission their own. They look at ours. I hear from them with some frequency. And lawmakers are like a lot of the rest of the people. They kind of pick and choose what they notice and what they don't, what they put stock in, what they don't. I think what is likely to be the thing that's most noticed is going to be the degree to which the economy and prices are still dominating how people are thinking about policy, whether it's the national level or the state level. That concern about the economy and prices is going to be the prism through which a lot of voters look at what the legislature does or does not do.
All right. Well, James Henson, Texas Politics Project, thanks for the insight.
Great to be back, Josh. Good to see you.
You too.
Everything about my work in the emergency room informs our work here.
New lawmakers bringing unique experiences and perspectives to the Capitol.
Mainly that my generation, we have to get involved in politics.
We speak to two new lawmakers from opposite sides of the aisle, the insight they're bringing to the debate this session.